Gaimin Gladiators. And this Karn and Co. Okay, Connor, we do know that they aren't looking at relegations at this point, but this has been a rough stage one for them.
Yeah, this has been a rough stage because this was a team that a lot of people looked at on paper and were like, hey, yeah, they should be competing for that top 6 at least. But all of a sudden, they had to fight in a little bit of a relegation battle last week, and things seemed pretty bad. And kind of the cherry on top of a mediocre season was losing a 4v5 matchup. And that's just rough, especially when you see the talent that you see on your screen. Feltwinter, Carnage B, Karn, Mikey, Whitlock, as well as Zeno. These are players that have been around the block. They've had success. They have good games, but their map pool has been very limited this entire stage, and they've been punished for that.
Now, I mean, almost similar story on the side of Gaimin Gladiators, Tanner. Maybe not, we're not as much relegation talk in their kind of, sphere maybe a game or two ago, but things could have been better for them so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you look at like the side of Gaimin Gladiators, they're very much like a mirror image almost of Karn & Co. We're talking about having a very small map pool. They also have a very small map pool. We're talking about big names that should have shown up in a big way from Arrow, Beastly, Jolton Quartz. Like these players have been around the block. A couple of them have hit or Quartz hit pro play, with Mirage in stage 1 of last year. So I'm really kind of shocked to see them this low on the leaderboard. I really thought they would have had a better stage. Coming into this game, right now, I think it's just a game of like who can undig like the hole the most. Like right now, both these teams are in a big deficit. They're sitting towards the bottom of the leaderboard. I think they're 7th and 9th respectively. And it's just like, you win, you might get a couple more points, and that's going to add up down the road. If you lose, you're going to be digging a pretty big hole. It's going to be very difficult for that team to try and get out of it.
Do you think, Connor, that that's maybe the message these teams are kind of, as they're going into this game, it's like, let's get all the points we can get. It hasn't been great, but let's make something of it.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's like who can bring the bigger shovel, like Tanner was saying, to dig themselves out. But overall, I really liked what you said, Tanner, that these are two mirrored teams because they're very similar, where they're kind of slow and methodical. But for Karn & Co., I think that if they really kind of double down into that slow and steady wins the race mentality, it can really help them because a lot of their issues have been kind of oversteps and skipping steps overall with how they're droning, how they're trying to go from their kind of intel gathering phase into their transitionary phase towards the execute. That's where they've kind of fallen apart, where if you have anything that disrupts them slightly, like you get a defensive pick on them or something like that, all of a sudden it's not a 5v5 execute moment. That's when Karn struggles, and especially struggling on the sort of their roam game. Tanner, we've talked about it extensively with them not really bringing a whole lot of intel and making it hard for players like Whitlock.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Karn & Co is definitely playing like this old utility meta kind of style. Like their strats haven't been updated. There's no information. Things are like they're relying on shields and banshees and ADSs. And, Ubisoft is identified. Like that's not fun to play against. So they built a bunch of operators, Flores, they give Twitch, they brought in the Gon 6. Like this isn't viable anymore. Everyone has nades. I really want Karn & Co to kind of update their strat book a little bit here. And I think if they do that, which I don't think they had a lot of time to do, I think it's going to be definitely like one of those like Achilles heels for this team today.
Now, does mirrored teams mean mirrored critical points when we talk about Gaimin Gladiators, or have you put a bit more into it than that?
No, I put a little bit more into it. Gaimin Gladiators is a team that has shown pretty good dominance at some points and then really bad performances at other points. Last week versus One Shot, they looked really sharp, and I didn't give them any credit going into that game because of how dominantly they got beat by Aerial Rise the day before. But they're a team that showed up. They played one of the best teams in Challenger League, and they looked really competitive doing it. Big things today that I'm looking for when it comes to how they want them to play versus Karn & Co. You can't let Karn & Co get to the execute. We've said this all throughout the stage. Karn & Co is a team that once they get to the execute, they're really well rehearsed. They get the execute down. They get a lot of plants down. So I'm looking for them to kind of, on their defensive half of Gaimin Gladiators, attack the roam, attack the drones, or attack the roam clear. Make sure you're putting problems in front of them. Don't let them get anything for free, and play like a little bit of scrappiness on defense. And then on the flip side, on attack, Gaimin Gladiators has had this issue of they take map control or they take top floor control, and then they don't bring sledgehammers or they don't bring breaching charges. So they're taking vertical pressure for no reason. And Karn & Co, like I mentioned before, is a team that likes to run a lot of utility. So play the meta, play things with like lots of explosives, play the Finca LMG, the Iana with three explosives. And I think you'll be able to clear a lot of the utility that's coming out from the side of Karn & Co, and just keep it simple, play your game, pick up the pace a little bit, and I think they'll be all right.
One thing that I found very interesting, Connor, and both of you mentioned this, is maybe the lack of map pool size between these two. do you think in that small size, Connor, that there's at least some overlap, or are we looking at two teams that maybe have a few, even with their smaller map pools, a bit different of maps that they would look to go to?
I mean, I honestly think this is a Control C, Control V moment. Both these teams, their main maps in the pool are Clubhouse and Oregon, maybe a little bit of Villa and Chalet. That's about it. So
Very
having Karn and Co.
vanilla,
ban
quite
out the
vanilla.
Clubhouse is already interesting. That's a map that they have not lost in over a year of play,
Wow.
which is a ridiculous stat. However,
Mhm.
they're just going to remove it straight off the board.
Yeah, I wonder if that's because Gaimin Gladiators had such a great performance last week versus One Shot. Obviously we don't know what these teams are thinking, but as you go through here, both like Connor said, they have the exact same map pools: Chalet, Club, Oregon, Villa. Maybe some Sky, maybe some Theme. So I'm expecting us to go to one of those equalizer maps. Probably seeing Clubhouse gone, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to Oregon here. Both those teams on that map haven't really looked all that spectacular. Karn and Co. lost that 4v5 versus ATK on Oregon. That's a map they should have won. Splash was DCing like crazy, and they still lost it. And then, on the flip side with Gaimin Gladiators, their map history on this is they have an overtime loss. So they're slightly more competitive, but at the same time, it's not a win. This is going to be like, which team is less awful, I think, on this map going forward.
Do you think, Tanner, that, once you see Clubhouse go off as that second pick, although it might be really surprising, it was almost inevitable we'd end up at Oregon?
Yeah. I really didn't think there was going to be much more to it. I was thinking maybe we might get a Chalet, just because both teams, have shown glimpses of success on that map. But I'm not surprised it's going to Oregon. Oregon's it's a very standard map. Both teams know how to play it. We talk about the methodicalness of how they like to take things step by step. It's not a very quick map. It's a map where if you do your thing, you do your attacks in sequence, you typically will find success.
So now, since we've all gone Gaimin Gladiators here, I do want to say I think it's going to be closer than an obvious Gaimin Gladiators victory. Looking at the side of Karn and Co., who or maybe one or two players in your mind that maybe haven't had the best stage, or maybe some games here or there that you think need to step up big if they want to take this game away from Gaimin Gladiators?
Felt Winter. He had one really good game at the beginning of the stage, and we're like, "Oh yeah, baby, Winter is coming."
Disgustingly good. Like,
did he
drop
like
a
20K
bomb or something?
And we're like, "Okay, he's gonna be doing
it's-
well." Then he's been kind of quiet ever since, and a lot of the issues on the side of Karn and Co, especially towards their attacks, have been in that early round where we even saw in their game against Outlast, there were many rounds on their attacks that they did not even enter the building. They just died trying to take study on a study over clear, and that's rough. And when you have one of your entries really underperforming, that's not a good thing. But we've seen those flashes in the pan, those just a little glimpse of brilliance come out of Karn and Co. And all of it came down to when Felt Winter was doing well. So hopefully he's activated today and can have a good matchup against somebody like Sykes or Quartz, who have also been struggling in the early round.
Well, Tanner, if we're looking at two mirror image teams of each other, what is it exactly that gives Gaimin Gladiators the edge? Obviously, we all kind of feel that edge. We gave them our vote. Is it, I don't know, veteran experience? Is it, even though they both have small map pools, they're just a bit better at each maps? What in your mind gives them the edge?
Well, there's a couple of things. The first thing I want to bring into attention is their players in general have been performing a lot better. You've got names like Jolton and Quartz who popped off last game, and Jolton, like he's never been like this very superstar heavy player throughout his CL career. But I want to say, like, this stage, he's actually stepped up to the plate in a massive way. Feels like he's constantly getting impact frags. He's always a relevant to the round, and he's not just like off on the sidelines like some of the other players we're seeing in Challenge League. The second big thing, I like Gaimin Gladiators drone work a little bit better. I feel like Karn and Co, once they lose their eyes and their drones get shot out, I feel like they don't really have any depth past that. They're not really trading very well. They're getting caught by these off angles, and I feel like Gaimin Gladiators has an edge there, where typically their drone work is actually pretty stellar. It's just about capitalizing off of the information you're getting on these drones.
Well, to piggyback off of that, I'll give you the question, Connor. Do you think the team, if with two teams this closely matched, do you think the team that actually capitalizes on info is going to be the one to take it? Because this is something we've been harping on with so many teams this stage.
Yeah, and when you go to a map that's a real equalizer like Oregon, it's always the little things. It's going to be the little mistakes here and there that will add up to kind of give the edge towards the other team. And one way that you can solve making mistakes, especially on your attacking side, is good intel, but even more so on the defensive side, because you can't really innovate that much. You can kind of know as an attacker where the shields are going to be, where the defenders are going to be playing. So there's that inherent intel for the attack. But then on the
Mhm.
defense, if you bring the Valkyrie cameras, you bring a bunch of bulletproofs, you try to maybe incorporate a pulse or something interesting that will just give your team that little bit of an edge on defense, could be really massive because you can kind of see where pushes are coming from. You can make adjustments. You can be a little bit more active, understand that, yeah, they're no longer holding this. Let's go for the flank. Let's get the late round aggression going. Let's try to catch them off. And I think that whoever's going to be doing that a little bit better is probably going to win this game.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Intel, so important, but right now, unfortunately, we're having a couple of connectivity issues with some of the players, so we're going to flip to a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get right into the action on Oregon.
Hello everyone, welcome to the final day of Challenger League. As the analyst desk already highlighted, whole lot of implications still yet to come. Every match still matters. I'm Harrison, as joined always by the ever so charming Jonah. Jonah, it's our last day in stage
Yeah,
one.
the last day of stage one. I mean, it is, we've come a long way. I mean, 9 play days has been pretty condensed, but we've seen, I mean, I feel like so many changes just over the last 9 days. Teams that start off really hot and they've quieted down a bit, and teams that maybe got off to a rocky start and have started to heat up and finally find their stride. Both of these teams kind of fall into that latter category, right? Starting to finally find their footing towards the end of the stage, at least Karn & Co. avoiding that relegation spot and now fighting to work their way up the leaderboard and get some more points under their belt. Like Tanner said on that analyst desk, every game matters. Every point matters because they all contribute to the playoff picture at the end of stage 3. You need to get those points to get you up on that leaderboard to put you into that playoff position, because if not, you can only miss out by 1 or 2 points. You're going to regret that one game that maybe you weren't trying quite as hard.
Yeah, points carry over stage to stage, so it's not like stage 1 you play and then everything resets to the next. It all carries over. So Karn & Co. and Gaimin Gladiators finding themselves in the bottom half of the leaderboard. There is a prize pool difference should Karn & Co. take this in regulation, of course, as Gaimin Gladiators are in 7th place, Nocturnes in 8th, Karn & Co. in 9th. Karn & Co. just 1 point below the 2 teams ahead of them. So, of course, they'll be looking for that not only to get as many points as they can, but also, I believe, another $200 or so on top of that prize pool. Unfortunately, though, Jonah, we find ourselves on Oregon. Everyone knows how we feel about Oregon.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the best place to go to an exciting game like this, but I'm sure both of these teams feel pretty comfortable. I mean, this is a map, like we always say, that all teams should know very well. They play it all the time here in Challenger League. Feels like we see this map at least twice a day, and well, Karn & Co., Gaimin Gladiators, they will grant us with at least our first Oregon of the day. We cross our fingers and we hope that maybe we don't have any more. Just because we see this map so often, we'd like to see these teams get a bit more creative and throw some nice variation in the mix, like you see in the NAL. You've got skyscrapers, you've got borders coming out all the time, and here we've had, what, 1 skyscraper and like 1 border total?
On stream, I think we've had 2 skies. I think? I don't know.
We've had 1 border and 2 skies. You're right.
Border.
You're right.
Yeah, something like that. But either way, if we want to talk about the operator bans real quick, now they look pretty standard to everyone out there, right? Ying, you know, if a team likes bringing Ying on Oregon, she can be hell to try and deal with, especially in those, you know, E-box drops, big window plays, stuff like that. So Gaimin Gladiators take her off the board. What I really want to focus on is their second ban. They decided to leave Valkyrie up and take away Karn & Co.'s Wamai. As Tanner and Connor both highlighted on that analyst desk, Karn & Co. play an old meta. They play the utility burn meta. They play slow. You almost always know where they're going to be at because they're going to be behind shields, common choke points, etc. And who better to bolster up those shield defenses than a Wamai comboed with the Jaeger? So once we flip onto that defensive half, you know, we'll really see how the lack of Wamai affects those Karn & Co. defenses. But of course, we got to get through these whole 6 first rounds first. Already, roam clear coming out from Karn & Co., of course, about a minute down. There's only 1 player still on the middle floor, but he is very slowly encroaching on that main attack.
Yeah, right. Quartz is looking for some opportunities here. Positioned in security, hoping maybe to catch out a Karn & Co. rotation or 2 as they work their way and start to actually pressure that basement site from that E-box hatch. But right now, no opportunities have yet to come his way. Arrow, he took a couple of bullets as he positions here in Pillar, now both threatened by tower stairs and by an inevitable E-box drop. But he's got Jolton to provide coverage on that 3rd angle he's got to worry about. This shield not positioned in elbow like we normally see. Instead, all the way up, advanced straight to this double door where Jolton can play a lot more aggressive on it. However, that smoke will block his own vision, and Karn will use that small pixel angle from above those concrete slabs to take the head of the smoke and to open up the round for Karn & Co.
That is the danger of playing aggressively on that doorway, that angle right there. If you're not pre-firing it, you are almost sure to get your head taken off. E-box drop comes through. Mikey caught in a crossfired falls. Feltwinter a trade, but Sykes with a second, using that Thorn gun very well. Feltwinter, though, chimes in for another kill of his own, and Fell's Quartz coming back to site. Now it's Sykes and Beastly. In a 2 versus 3, Feltwinter is lit up, but as you can see, there's a bulletproof cam and a shield being brought by these 2 defensive operators. With no smoke canisters left and no C4, there is no way for them to indirectly deny that plant attempt other than just trying to swing. Beastly is stuck inside of Elbow as well, so really the only man who's going to be able to do that is Sykes. But as long as an attacker is covering that long hallway, Karn should be able to plant safely. In comes Beastly. Whitlock will spot his Elbow just for a second and send a pre-fire his way. Before that, Aruni backs off and is now tucking the other side of this shelf. Karn comes in for the plant, but Feltwinter goes down watching that hallway. Karn tries to get aggressive and is taken out by Beastly. They tried to push in because the cover was gone, and Sykes and Beastly are more than ready for them. A 4K for Sykes as the Gladiators take the first round.
Karn & Co. making a troubling mistake there. I mean, just kind of stalling out the attack completely, it felt like, Harrison. I mean, the moment we hit that 25-second mark, Karn & Co. had a 3v2 advantage. As you highlighted during the round, Gaimin Gladiators had no indirect plant denial at their disposal. They were going to have to swing and just, take those fights the old-fashioned way with a couple of bullets being sent downrange. But Karn & Co. didn't step up. They waited 15 seconds, tried to figure out where exactly those final 2 defenders were positioned, and when they eventually decided to push in, it wasn't together at all. There was no coordination. That was 3 individual pushes, 3 individual 1v1 gunfights, and that is no way to win a round. When you know you have to get the diffuser on the ground, you know that 2 players are going to need to provide ample coverage for whoever is going to be, staring at the ground, typing away at the diffuser for a good 7 seconds. And Karn & Co., instead of setting that up, tried to swing on the defenders. And Gaimin Gladiators, they were waiting for the plant. They knew they didn't have to get aggressive until they heard the telltale sign of that keyboard clacking away, of that diffuser being planted. So they didn't need to step up. They could sit back and wait. Karn & Co. played right into their hands and essentially gave them that win.
And I know it's only round 1, but it's a little bit worrying because what do we always say about Karn & Co., Jonah? What does everyone in Challenger League always say? If you let Karn & Co. set up, then you're sure to lose. Karn & Co. had plenty of time to reset, set up, and go for that execute, and they still fell flat due to Feltwinter getting taken out early and Karn and Whitlock deciding, okay, you know what? We only have 1 guy. There's too many angles to cover. We got to get aggressive. Karn & Co. had the time and the manpower, and they still couldn't make it happen, which should be the environment in which they thrive. Now, again, only round 1. There's still plenty of time for them to amend their mistakes, but that's not a good sign. Sure, Beastly only goes 1 for 1, but who does he trade out? The Hibana. Now you're left with only a Maverick to try and open both Attic and Games if that split was what Karn & Co.'s plan was.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge hindrance to Karn & Co. Then there's really no other way of putting that. If Karn wants to get both walls open, he is going to have to move very quickly. More likely, we're going to have to see Karn & Co. change up their strategy. They're not going to be able to go for that split. They're not going to even attempt to get that attic wall open anymore, I suspect. It's just going to be open up that games wall, and maybe they'll send someone down below to pressure from white, to pressure from kitchen and dining, and to establish some vertical. It looks like Zeno is going to be taking up that job. He's got Quartz to worry about first, who is once again positioned here in security, much like he was in that last round. But a kill here from Carnage B onto Jolton will certainly put the Karn & Co. nerves a little bit at ease. They now take that man advantage, and even if the time and the utility is not on their side, they now have the potential to start working their way into the bomb site. Beautiful nade from Zeno to send this one to a 4v2.
Not only that, but look at who they took out. It's that smoke. So like you said, if that time gets low, they're not going to have to worry about gas canisters. It's going to be Mikey on the plant instead of Carnage B. Zeno covering still downstairs gets a triple on the round, and that leaves Arrow alone in Attic, never being pushed because of the lack of the second hard breach, and Feltwinter will put him out of his misery. No chance for a clutch, and Karn & Co. even the score.
Kind of the opposite of the way we usually expect Karn & Co. to win rounds. It wasn't the take a slow, methodical setup, looking good, looking clean, 3-2-1 execute that we often compliment them for. That was a mess because they lost the Hibana, but their adaptation in the middle of that round was textbook. I mean, realizing they couldn't go for the split, realizing they had to just put all of that pressure into games itself, they decided to work their way down below. As I mentioned, in the middle of that round, shifting their attention to white stairs, shifting their attention to applying some of that vertical pressure with those frag grenades, getting a couple of kills while doing that, cleaning up those players down below. And eventually, when they turned their attention to the site, they got the bomb down uninterrupted and were able to get those kills as Gaimin Gladiators came back in an effort to stop them. So well done, and making up for their mistakes in that first round is a great way to move forward for the rest of their attacking half because, like you said, Harrison, we are indeed tied up 1-1.
I really like the adjustment as you highlighted going down below. Big play from Zeno as well on the Finka rather than Feltwinter, who is instead flexed onto Ashe. Curious that they're bringing Ashe over Iana when Iana is just objectively better in almost every sense. I guess the only thing Ashe really has over Iana is soft destruction. Maybe they're prioritizing that because they are attacking a first floor bomb site. They do have Mikey, but it's always nice to have a bit of redundancy just in case Mikey gets taken out a little bit early. And speaking of, he's droning in through small tower. The rest of the attack is droning in through master. So once again, a pinch going on from Karn & Co. trying to take downstairs on the dining side of things, as well as, of course, push the top floor, as you always have to do on a meeting attack.
Yeah, when you head to this tertiary bomb site of meeting and kitchen, this top floor defensive presence is essential for them to hold as long as they can, because if it's not cleared out by the attackers, they can then use the soft destruction on their side, use that hatch in attic as a weapon against that attacking team. That's why we're going to have to see Karn & Co. try to work their way through this setup. Mikey is going to come in from the other side, trying to pinch them out from the top of the white stairs. Of course, wary of these alibi holograms in position, but he'll have to actually be wary of the two defenders who still sit positioned up top. Sykes is one of them. In dorms itself, you've got Quartz in attic, so Mikey, a drone, as it goes in, he'll just face check it though before the drone actually clears out that position, and that will cost him his life. Sykes takes the opener.
The entire reason why we saw Carnage and Mikey clearing over from the small tower side of things was for the white stairs walk up. And Mikey, I don't know whether the drone called it clear too early or Mikey just got ahead of himself, but that is a rookie mistake not to check bunkers, a pretty default position for a top floor hold. Karn & Co will try to amend this. Of course, flashbangs coming in, Zeno walking in, but is down once again by Sykes, the Malusi so far. In fact, Malusi and the Thorn he was playing in round number 1, going huge for his team before Whitlock answers back and takes him out. Makes sure that Sykes can do nothing more in this round. In the meantime, Zeno has picked himself back up thanks to that Finka res. Quartz domed through the wall by Feltwinter, and Karn & Co take the man advantage back.
Wow, this has been a back and forth round already, but somehow Karn & Co. have emerged from a disastrous top floor clear on top, I suppose you could say. 30 seconds left. They're in a 4v3, and they've got several options with how they want to approach this objective. And it does appear they're going to be working their way in on the kitchen side rather than the more typical meeting approach, but they will have to worry about, well, the possibility of a small flank. Arrow trying to work his way at the top of freezer stairs. Unfortunately, a barricade in his way will likely communicate that position once he tries to step up, but Karn & Co., they are running out of time. They will have to step up and get this bomb down. Whitlock will be doing that, but Beastly on the coverage takes him down. Jolton gets the kill he needs. Now at the last minute, Karn is able to recover that diffuser. Beastly gonna try to sneak in and deny the plant if he can. He gets by the cover. He gets by the cover, but he's not there in time. Whips out the shotgun, and Feltwinter will get it done. But man, that came close. Had that plant not been stuck within maybe the millisecond that it was, we could have easily seen that round gone in the favor of the defense.
Had that plant not been stuck, or had Beastly taken out his shotgun like a millisecond earlier and had it ready, that's a completely different round. Karn & Co., early misstep with Mikey, but they recovered on that top floor clear, took that man advantage. And then the execute is when things got hairy. You can see the way Karn was pre-firing security, that he either has the confidence of a madman or his team didn't think anyone was playing behind that shield. Even though Jolton had sent his smoke out, the whole plant attempt from Karn & Co. was really odd if they had the knowledge that Jolton was playing there. And even if not, you got to kind of, you know, assume it until you drone it. I don't think I saw anyone from Karn & Co. actually drone the site. The only intel they were working off of was the vertical angles being established by Feltwinter, who of course is not going to be nearly as efficient as Mikey on the sledge if he were alive. So although Jolton ended up only killing one person, and his teammates were all getting refrag, he killed the most important. He killed that initial planter. Karn, luckily though, quick thinking, was able to step up and get it down with, I think, like 2 seconds remaining on the clock, and Beasley wasn't in position. And that round, you know, at the end of the day, should have been Karn & Co.'s and shouldn't have been as close as it was if Feltwinter had not whiffed through the floor, but it was still a very, very messy execute from Karn & Co. that, similarly to round number 1, shouldn't have really gotten down to that situation in the first place.
Yeah, these first 3 rounds as a whole have felt pretty clumsy by both teams, right? And I think part of the reason for that is, according to the notes I've got in front of me, it looks like every single round, the opening kill has gone, well, the opposite way of the result. In the opening round, Karn & Co. had the first pick, Gaimin Gladiators won. The following 2 rounds, it was Gaimin Gladiators who got the opening kill, and Karn & Co. are able to bring it back and win it. It's not a pattern that we often see emerging. Usually it's the other way around, where the team who's able to establish that rhythm first, get on the board first, is usually able to translate that and actually leverage that advantage into a successful round. But right now, things are a little bit backwards, likely part of the reason why it feels a little bit off. But I'm sure Karn & Co. will be looking to remedy that, of course. I mean, they're into the building. They've cleared out the top 2 floors, essentially. Quartz was the last player to really be pressuring that first floor. So now Karn & Co. once again can turn their focus to the basement.
We'll see if they are just as slow as they were in that initial round. It's been about a minute 30, but they've made steady progress. This time, no one from Gaimin Gladiators staying on the roam. They've all fallen back to the site. Gas canisters coming out pretty early from Jolton, wanting to ensure that Karn & Co. aren't able to make as steady progress down the tower stairs as they would like, especially because that's where Arrow and Quartz are trying to hold. In comes an Iana clone. Arrow missed his initial shots and give up maybe a little more info than he should have, but still not the biggest deal in the world. Karn & Co. are probably already aware of that Jaeger's position in the first place. He'll spot Feltwinter holding a nade, but not be able to land the killing blow. Feltwinter will be allowed to back off. We're now sub 1 minute, and Feltwinter gets the opening pick, quickly traded out by Arrow as he still desperately holds on to that barrel's door. In comes the E-box drop, and Mikey is the next to fall. Karn dead as well. Zeno down. It's all Whitlock in a 1 versus 4. If Zeno can pick himself back up, if he has any more Finka boost, sure, it becomes slightly more winnable, but still a disastrous E-box tower play from the attack.
Loving the patience of Gaimin Gladiators right now. Not only now after the fact that they're sitting in this 4v2, but it's the reason they got this advantage so quickly is because after they lost Quartz, nobody got ahead of themselves. They didn't get too crazy in taking the gunfights. Karn & Co. still had to force the issue, and Gaimin Gladiators played the trades beautifully. It all comes down to Whitlock now, and he simply has no time to work with, and, well, everyone knows exactly where he's coming from. Arrow will be the first to swing. Jolton will just send it up the tower stairs and claim that kill for his own. And despite starting out with the opening pick once again, Karn & Co. are unable to continue that push successfully. They lose too many bodies and they lose the round.
And you really got to give it up to Arrow, staying calm, cool, and collected. Even though he lost his buddy in Tower Quartz, dying behind Pillar, he was able to whip around, get the trade on Feltwinter, and kill Mikey coming in from the E-box drop. And from there, Karn & Co. were stumped. They lost 2 bodies to that Jaeger, still don't have tower control. Karn dies. I don't even know where Karn was down. Maybe like freezer or something, because I don't think he was bunker with Whitlock. And from there, your last 2 attackers, very separated. Zeno goes down. Whitlock is a lone Hibana in bunker with Arrow still on his barrel door, and someone, I think Jolton, still playing an elbow with gas grenades. There's nothing Karn & Co. can do because that initial play did not work out. Had they had a Ying, maybe it's a little bit better. You know, you're able to just blind those 2 players in tower and they can do nothing as you shoot them in the head. But I don't know if Karn & Co. are a team that really like bringing that Ying. If memory serves me correctly, it's kind of off and on with them. So I don't know how much the Ying band directly has to deal with that, but it's definitely a point that should be brought up. And Karn & Co., once again, allowed to set up, but unable to execute properly. Gaimin Gladiators aren't playing that, tenacious game that teams like ATK or Aerial Arise are going to play, where they're hunting for those drones. They are in their face. Gaimin Gladiators are playing rather reserved compared to a lot of those teams, and Karn are still fumbling.
Well, they're going to hope that on this iteration of their Dorms attack, they can keep both of their hard breachers alive this time. Of course, last time it was Beastly who ran out the small tower side of things, took down Whitlock early, and, well, really forced Karn & Co. to go for a pretty dramatic adaptation. A successful adaptation at that, but I assume Karn & Co. are hoping this one goes a little bit more expected and a little bit more to plan. Already, Karn & Co. are not wasting time to actually pressure these players positioned in Trophy. You have Sykes, who was playing aggressively in there just a moment ago. He's since backed off slightly to Bolo's spot. But there's also some other players across the map to worry about. I mean, you've got Quartz lurking over in Small Tower, maybe hoping that somebody tries to go for that double window, that Dorms window, and maybe he can jump his way out and collect that kill. But Xeno may be aware of his position. You see him carefully monitoring this drone, may have heard some shuffling of the mute as he repositions on this staircase. So Karn & Co., now that Quartz has been spotted out, they've got to make a choice. Do they actually force him out here, or do they ignore him completely? Looks like they want to send it at him, and it's a messy gunfight. Quartz missing his shots, and Karn finishing him off with a pistol.
That was almost very scary for Karn & Co. They're nearly losing the body, but luckily, Quartz was blind. I think Quartz has full vision there. He probably wins that, but C'est la vie. It's a 1-0 lead, or well, one man up now for Karn & Co. 5 versus 4, about 1:10, so again, still ample time to go in, collect the info, maybe get some more hard breaching done, and Whitlock lands a beautiful shot through that open breach onto Sykes, extending the man advantage for his team. Arrow is backed way off in Attic. Jolton's still covering this shield. If they make a play like Mikey is doing right now, there's not a whole lot the defense can do about it. Sure, Jolton will get a nice headshot, but Xeno is here, stunting this defense from retaking that control, and the air jab will hit both the players. LMG will win out. Mikey gets one coming off the plant, and Jolton's alone in a 1v3. Nasty little headshot on Mikey, but still, with 3 players to find and the clock ticking down, will he be able to do it? Triple kill, only 2 left. Whitlock is backed off, Xeno is playing from below, and Xeno does have nades. That's going to be Jolton's biggest problem. He'll spot out Whitlock's rotate momentarily and try to long arm around the corner, hoping there's no slim angle Whitlock can get, and there isn't, but Jolton will still get off. Whitlock, with the bearing 9 out, finishes the round, and Karn & Co. take the lead once again.
And the first round where we've seen that opening kill finally used correctly and finally allowing the attacking team, in this case, to find some success. And as well put together as that attack was, there's at least one glaring aspect of that defense that just didn't quite feel right, and it was the smoke play from Jolton. He still had 3 toxic smokes in pocket when that bomb was going down. In fact, when the plant was completed, he still hadn't used a single one. Only in that retake phase did he finally initiate those toxic babes, finally try to smoke out those attackers and prevent them from making progress, obscuring a couple of angles, but usually those smokes are best utilized denying the plant. It's textbook plant denial. You throw one toxic smoke right to the position where that bomb is going down, and Jolton absolutely had the angle from Attic to do that. He had a deployable shield to protect his position he was holding on that Kids to Attic rotate, and unfortunately, he didn't do anything with it. Not a common mistake we see from Jolton, or anybody in this lobby for that matter, to allow that kind of utility to go unused, but Karn & Co. were more than happy to take advantage. They were able to get that bomb down without even a sliver of an attempt from Gaimin Gladiators to actually deny it.
Especially because Arrow was so far afield and back, Attic and Beastly was kind of taking cover in Kids. There was no one in a position to deny that plant other than the smoke, which, like you said, Jolton never really utilized. They had just backed off way too far to be able to influence that plant. So well done to Karn & Co. to spot that out. And once again, on this meeting defense, they're going to try and clear both with Master and Small Tower at the same time. Only here's a big difference. You've lost Feltwinter very early. He was the man first in Armory, and next you lose someone pushing Small Tower. Carnage B walks in, dies to Arrow, and that's 2 kills in the first 45 seconds for the defense.
Looks like Gaimin Gladiators were tired of allowing Karn & Co. to get that setup that they've been successful on for the past round or 2, right? They're just trying to deny Karn & Co. from even getting in the building, and I mean, look at that. It worked beautifully. Gaimin Gladiators now have a 5 versus 3, and I don't know if well, they're going to be slowing down anytime soon. They still appear to be confident. They still appear to be swinging. I mean, you've got somebody here in security. That's Sykes looking to take a gunfight. Zeno, of course, holding that angle. Doesn't want to allow any more aggression to come out from the Gaimin Gladiators. Oh, but it may come out from Jolton here in just a moment. You can see Zeno, he's got that Banshee in his way, so he can't actually push up in the hallway without expending one of those frag grenades, so he's forced to relocate. At the same time, though, Mikey working his way through another Banshee will pick up a kill onto Jolton, and those are the smokes once again off the board.
Beastly is in a very exposed position should Mikey walk out into stage, but someone's also encroaching on his green hall. Mikey's going to have to worry about that. Eventually, Beastly will pick in. That could be enough of a distraction, and it will. Quartz gets the refrag as Beastly goes down thanks to the upstairs presence from Zeno. Whitlock now hitting the drone, attempting to gather more info in the site as Zeno walks down tower stairs, but Quartz has since retaken that green stairs position and is still holding off this double door. Gaimin Gladiators have pretty good positions to hold from as long as they don't give Zeno and Whitlock the 1v1s that these attackers are hoping for. Quartz is now covering the hatch. He'll see that bullet come out, so he'll call, Whitlock coming down the hatch, and they already know where Zeno is, so the defenders have a fair bit of info as well. Zeno will walk past Quartz, though, and try and nab a kill in the site. He's got pings on arrow, but will miss the shots. Does he know Quartz is just to his left? He'll eat a lot of damage, but not finished off. Stun maybe goes in from Whitlock, but no, he'll just reposition, trying desperately to find an angle on this alibi, but Zeno doesn't know about the elevated position from arrow. Easy kill for him. Sure, a trade from Whitlock, but there's so little time remaining that it might not matter. 8 seconds left. Behind the shield is arrow. He'll pop up and nab the kill, and Gaimin Gladiators will secure an even half.
I mean, a textbook example of why, getting just frags matters. Why that early aggression sometimes from a defense can make or break a round. We saw how much, both Whitlock and, Karn in the end, or Karn was the,
Zeno.
Finka, or was Zeno? Zeno was a Finka. How much Zeno and Whitlock struggled to make any progress when they were in that 2v3 scenario because they were slightly separated, one player in attic, one player trying to push down the green hall. I mean, we saw how much Zeno was struggling to make any progress. Generally, when you're trying to push stage from that hallway, from that doorway, I mean, you need 2 players at minimum to cover that because you've got to worry about 1, your swing from the kitchen doorway, and 2, the swing from stage. Zeno trying to juggle that back and forth, eventually getting torn apart by Quartz, who was on that stage position, just decided to then turn his attention towards kitchen, where 2 more defenders were lying in wait. It really was a lose-lose situation at that point for Zeno, because Whitlock, even though he was trying to somewhat support a meeting-sided push from attic, Zeno didn't have the faculties to deal with so many of those angles at once, and again, it really wasn't possible. So well done from Gaimin Gladiators to stay patient and to force Karn & Co to really struggle in that last attacking round. But whatever the result may be, we are all tied up at the half. And going into Karn & Co's defense now, we could see a complete shakeup.
See how they perform on their defense. I talked about that Wamai ban earlier. He can certainly be influential in these bottom floor defenses for holding on to tower, repeatedly throwing out those discs, making sure that those nades can't get any clearance. We'll see if that shakes up Karn & Co at all, but they are going to get a bit aggressive. They're going to have 2 people set up on this roam, and wow, Quartz loses that? I am in awe. Beautiful reaction from Zeno, maybe a bit of a whiff from the sledge, and I mean, although Sledge's primary utility is rather useless on this site, that's still a set of nades that might sorely be missed.
And it's a big gun. I mean, even though Quartz hasn't really been heating up just yet, only 2 and 6. I mean, he is a player that you'd really like to have for that execute phase of the round. But if you're looking at the scoreboard, everyone else on Gaimin Gladiators a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more frag dominant than their fallen teammate. And with Zeno at low HP, Mikey a little bit lit up, I think they're still in a good position to take this. It's just about making sure they stay perfect from this point forward. They cannot afford at this point to play disjointed or really showcase a lack of coordination at any point in their attack. They have to make sure that if they're taking a gunfight, they've got some other teammate nearby to help support them. Maybe in the case of Zeno, that can be an easy 1v1 for Sykes if he ends up working his way down Freezer, given that Xeno is so lit up. But now that Sykes has expended both of those frag grenades, it's a different story. Whitlock trying to play cheeky in the corner here in tower. That pays off. Once Jolton got that kill, Whitlock steps up and gets the trade, so Karn and Co. maintain a one-man advantage.
And that's Flores dead. You've only got 2 nades in the side of Arrow. We know how much Karn and Co. love to sit behind their shields, love their bulletproof utility. So Karn might be way harder to flush out if his shield is still up in elbow. I can't actually see from the aerial view where that shield is. I'm gonna assume it's an elbow. I feel like that's a pretty fair assumption. Sykes is really the only attacker in the basement. He's tucked all the way in Freezer. Never mind, Beastly is bottom laundry stairs as well. He has plenty of utility from the Capitao. This might be another reason why Gaimin Gladiators has banned the Wamai if they want to take advantage of the crossbow. Mikey lands a mean headshot. Karn grabs Beastly before he can back off with the crossbow out. And Arrow's alone in Freezer now, retaking the position that was once held by his Finka. And he's only got 23 seconds to play with. This round is pretty much over. That was disgusting. But he can't get the second on Karn. And the defense will take the first point of the new half.
I mean, just a textbook start from Karn & Co. I mean, they worked with a bit of a roam, a bit of an extension to kick off the round, and after they found their kill, they immediately fell back, and they forced Gaimin Gladiators to stay passive, to clear out the rest of the map methodically, and at the same time, they were doing it without the full force of that attack. They had already lost Quartz, the 2 sets of nades, as you mentioned, Harrison, so going into the rest of that clear, they were slightly handicapped in the rest of their progress that they could make. So going into this second half, right, Gaimin Gladiators, they really want to answer as soon as they can, and they'll take a quick timeout here to 1, get one of their players back in the lobby, but 2, likely to discuss what exactly they can focus on, or at least this next round, which likely to be a Dorms defense that they can really drive the point home and get a win under their belt.
Yeah, I think Gaimin Gladiators maybe not expecting Karn & Co. to play so forward, especially in that early round, because Karn & Co. are also not a team who are known to be ratty, right? Whitlock's position in rear stage was certainly a surprise. So hopefully Gaimin Gladiators, like you said, are able to use this tech timeout to their advantage, as it is not, it's not a tactical timeout. It's because Sykes disconnected or crashed or what have you. Hopefully he's back in the lobby soon enough. Looking at the operators that Karn & Co. want to bring on Dorms, it's still very similar to what they had in the previous round, minus Malusi plus Aruni. So they've still got both Aruni and Jaeger to help cover the shield that Feltwinter is bringing on the smoke. Actually, I just said Feltwinter as smoke. I didn't even realize beforehand. That's an interesting shakeup, I guess. Usually don't see him on that role because Feltwinter is a very aggressive player, so maybe he's playing, FMG9 smoke in a death position, maybe, or I'm not really sure. Sykes is back. We can see how it shakes up. Karn & Co. look like they're going to be playing, again, a rather standard style of defense. The mute makes me think that they want to roam below, but it's nothing that Gaimin Gladiators are unfamiliar with.
Well, I mean, if Karn & Co. can continue that aggression, right, and Gaimin Gladiators can't get a handle on it, obviously we know what way this round will likely go. But, like you said, Gaimin Gladiators, gonna have to get a handle on that as soon as they can. At least right now, the attacking lineup that we see doesn't have any major changes or any major indications of what kind of strategy they're going to bring to the table, but the fact that we've got 2 hard breachers, the same 2 hard breachers that Karn & Co. brought on their attacking half, implies that we might see a split take. But now that we see Arrow potentially going with a repick over to the Nomad, we might be seeing something a little bit more straightforward. Of course, you'll have 3 sets of nades, both in Quartz's hands, Sykes' hands, and Jolton's pockets, and all of that can aid a pretty direct take into games and up the white stairs. We saw Karn & Co. do this once, using those nades to apply pressure from below, and simply that alone can not only take out utility, but can find you a lot of frags if you do it right.
Certainly so, and counter to what I had previously thought, there is not much downstairs presence from Karn & Co. It is really just the Jaeger of Whitlock who's sitting on freezer stairs, which is not necessarily a position that you actively challenge from. It's really just for drones. Then you scuttle down to the basement and rotate up elsewhere later in the round. So we'll just have to see what Whitlock decides to do with it. There is a jammer on the main wall, so Gaimin Gladiators will have to clear it. Obviously, nothing too difficult. There goes the nade from outside on the gen window, but there's a Cade Claw to respond, and it's fast enough. It'll catch one side, but not the other. Another nade comes through. It'll go ahead and destroy it, and I don't think Karn has any left in his back pocket. And of course, Hibana just has so much hard breach that it shouldn't be too much of an issue for the Gladiators.
I mean, you gotta applaud Karn for having the reaction time to get the first claw down. It's just a shame that he put it only on one side of the wall, not the other. Just rushing to throw that at the exact moment, just didn't get the aim quite right, which now has enabled the breach to be opened, and even if it may not be the biggest hole right now, it is still a good line of sight into the objective that will force Karn & Co. to be very careful of what they swing next. You've also got this crossfire now established from the dorms window. You've got Sykes already at the top of the white stairs, and now is when the kills start to come through. Quartz will find the first one. That one onto the Kaid, who is already stuck in a corner, and Zeno, if he wants to challenge this, well, he's going to be in a predicament very soon, because here comes Gaimin Gladiators. They have all of these crossfires, and Karn & Co., they're just trying to survive at this point.
Winter has a gas canister prepped, and as the flash is going, that's the perfect time, but Arrow doesn't care. He'll walk right in and get down and killed by the smoke. Zeno with a nice tap onto Sykes as well, and you have to question that decision, especially with the canister coming out and doing damage. You know someone's watching those footholds, and unless you clear them, jumping through big window is almost an impossible task. Now, Karn & Co. have reclaimed that man advantage due to it, and Diffuser is dropped in sight. Jolton will be the next man to hop in. He will win the kill against Feltwinter, but take a lot of damage in response. Mikey is below. No C4 in hand. He'll try to flank and get cut down. Zeno gets one of the coverage, and now it's Quartz on white stairs. Jolton back behind bunk, maybe even outside. Zeno will dumpster the cover, though, and Whitlock gets the second. 3 for Zeno, and the finisher for the Jaeger, and Karn & Co. go up 5-3.
An impressive hold of the dorm site for Karn & Co. Just the way that Gaimin Gladiators were setting that one up, it looked extremely promising. I mean, they found that first nade kill onto the Kaid, who, like I said, who was trapped in dorms and had nowhere to go. They had somebody outside the dorms window. They had somebody working their way around to the trophy door. They had somebody on the game's breach, and they had somebody at the top of the white stairs. That is every position you could possibly need, and really, when you're pushing into the dorms window, you only have one position, one small position that the defense can hold that can give you a little trouble. And, well, we saw that exact thing happen. The kids' dorms position, using the soft wall, using those smokes to force the attackers into a choke point. That is what Karn & Co. did beautifully. Once they picked up that kill, and then they picked up the second on the player who was trying to provide the coverage, all of a sudden, Gaimin Gladiators were fighting from the back foot. They were able to push in. They were able to get the bomb down, but that is where things started to crumble. They started to get lit up, and even as, I think it was Jolton who just jumped in the window on the Yana and tried to get that bomb down, even though he won that fight, he got so lit that there was not much he could do when it came to the 2v2 retake. So well done from Karn & Co. Once again, staying patient when Gaimin Gladiators look like they're making up so much ground.
Especially that 3K from Zeno, very well timed, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I have to question the decision to make a big window play when Feltwinter is not cleared out. They had no sort of vertical destruction from below to flush out those corner positions that he can watch those footholds from. They didn't kill him. They didn't do anything. They decided that despite a gas nade going out and knowing that he's watching it, they could jump in for free. And that, I think, was the big tide turner that really cemented Karn & Co. as the favorites to win that round. But
they had a full minute, by the way, when they did that. A full minute left on the clock.
That too. But now I guess we'll see if Karn & Co. are as proficient on the off-site, right? This is the site that you typically find an attacking team to start their comeback on just by, you know, the nature of how tertiary sites work. The Gaimin Gladiators so far have not run into too much contention, and very early on, they'll be able to open that kitchen single wall.
Yeah, already making a good amount of progress. You'll have Quartz on the Nook as well, running his way around towards the garage side, just working his way around the other side of the map, even towards the tower side, to possibly surprise this defense if he can. Maybe he'll be the first player to make a move into tower itself, but no, I mean, there's already Jolton inside. Arrow is also working his way in, so even though Quartz is on the Nook, right now he is not playing sneaky by any means. Currently playing with his team and likely just playing support. Right now, droning his team in as they work their way in the building. But like you said, with that kitchen single wall already opened up, Harrison, Gaimin Gladiators now have a couple of options. They could work their way in from kitchen and pressure from that side, or they could start to open up this meeting wall. Arrow will get smoked out, but Feltwinter, interestingly enough, decides to take the gunfight, and, well, he gets smoked. Pun not intended. Feltwinter is now dead, and without the rest of those smokes in pocket, it'll have to be a 4v5 with Karn & Co. once again starting on the back foot.
That's why I slightly question that role swap of Feltwinter on Smoke. He's a very aggressive player. He's going to be taking those fights to try and get the advantage for his team, and as Smoke, it's a risk that I wouldn't want to take as a defensive team, because now you've lost those gas canisters. He's only used one, and now Beastly's going for the plant, but Whitlock denies it from up top because there's not enough coverage inside of Attic. Zeno takes a lot of damage as Arrow is now getting the second plant attempt down, but Karn and Whitlock, there's 3 kills for the defense. Quartz gets a singular refrag on Whitlock as Mikey shuts him down, and Karn & Co. take a 3-round lead and match point.
Ooh, that one right there. Just, I mean, simple miscalculations from Gaimin Gladiators once again. They take the early advantage. You can applaud them for that. But the Nook pick, right? It's been a while since we've really tried to attack one of these, players for bringing out the Nook and trying to say, you know what, this is not a good strategy. But in this case, it was a very poor decision from Quartz, because he didn't play Nook like she's meant to be played. If you want to work your way in the building and sneak your way in the basement, maybe work your way down Freezer before the defense knows what's hitting them, that's what Nook is for. What Nook is not for is holding Attic, trying to utilize just the FMG9 as soft destruction, and then not even using those nades, trying to provide the coverage. It really just seemed like Gaimin Gladiators entered into the round with an entirely different plan that they actually ended up executing. There didn't seem to be a major reason why they had to adapt on the fly. With attacker repick, you would think that Quartz comes into the lobby as prepared as possible, but, why wasn't he on the sledge, for example? He could have opened up that Attic wall even more, given himself more coverage, and prevented those players from Karn & Co. from retaking Attic, because generally, retaking Attic is an impossible task for a defense once tower control is in the hand of the attackers, but Quartz just, single-handedly disappointing his team on that coverage and allowing those kills to be found for the defense.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been as much of an issue if, Whitlock killed that first planter and then Quartz swung and refragged him, right? Whitlock got 3 kills. That is inexcusable. 3 kills from the Attic hatch where Quartz was easily within killing distance of him. So I definitely agree. That round is kind of on Quartz's shoulder there, especially with the fact as well of he could have done that with literally any operator. I thought when we saw the Nook playing with the team, I was like, oh, Quartz is going to be there. He's going to use his nades to help support the team, and then he's going to, run off somewhere and do his own thing. But he didn't. He played flank watch. That was a little weird. Luckily, he's not on Nook anymore. He's on Sledge. And the attack has taken the top floor. And as I try to highlight his swap of operator and how much more useful it is, he'll die immediately to Zeno. Beautiful shot through the floor to deny an important operator for that middle floor clear, as well as a set of nades.
Troubling start here for Gaimin Gladiators on match point. They need the next 3 in a row, and they'll need this one. They'll have to make a comeback if they want to make it happen. They will now be establishing as many angles as possible, as many approaches onto the site as they can, right? You've got the E-box hatch opened already. You've got somebody opening up that main hatch into laundry from main lobby, and now the pressure in Freezer is building up thanks to Sykes as he works his way down. He'll likely use this last nade to see if he can force out Zeno. First, the Rotero drone will come in, as Jolton will be piloting those down the stairs in an effort to clear out the utility that may prevent Sykes from actually advancing on this position. But that next Rotero drone, even more essential than the last, will get shot out, and Sykes won't be able to step up just yet.
I feel like the use of these Rotero drones, Jolton is getting them in and finding a lot of good utility with it, especially that shield that Xeno was trying to play behind. But now gas canisters come out in response to Beastly, so the Capitao can't make any headway just yet. Arrow is upstairs, ready to drop that hatch. Nade will go in from Sykes over the lockers, but ADS is still there. It was out of the detonation range of that Flores drone when it destroyed that shield, but in comes the Finka anyway. He'll get that kill on a Xeno, and it's 3 in favor of the attack. Make it 4. Whitlock finds himself alone in a sorry hold from the defense. Gaimin Gladiators simply push on in and win every single one of their engagements.
And using the Capitao bolts beautifully. I mean, textbook use of those smokes, something we don't see very often. Capitao, I mean, as powerful as his kit is, we don't see him very much at all in any competitive setting, but when he's used well, I mean, think about the position on Clubhouse, garage rafters pushing up there, a textbook example of how to use those asphyxiating bolts. When he is used well, it is terrifying to be a defensive team and to stare against that utility. In this case, it wasn't the fire, but it was the smokes that locked off those angles from Laundry, prevented any defender, Karn was the one really in that position, preventing them from swinging on the soft holes they had already made in Freezer, denying what could have been the entry down in Freezer, but instead, Karn and Co. just send it on in. They had the protection from the Laundry side. They knew exactly where the defense would be swinging from, and so Gaimin Gladiators had no trouble collecting kill after kill after kill after kill and taking the round right out of Karn and Co.'s hands. That is a great way to start a potential comeback.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a round that's going to start a comeback, it's that one. That is what Gaimin Gladiators needed, not just, of course, you know, to stay in the match because Karn and Co are match point, but for the mental as well. Gaimin Gladiators in the comms likely saying, okay, guys, we just won a round like that, pushing in, not dropping a body after quartz. We have the ability to simply be better. Now they just have to consistently act on it for the next 2 rounds in order to bring us to overtime. Remember, whoever wins this game will end up finishing in, I believe it is 7th place. Yes, whoever wins this game will end up finishing in 7th. And, you know, with 17/16 points, that's a decent amount to carry over into the next stage. The Gaimin Gladiators obviously wanting to take as many as possible. They will once again be going for the roam clear as Karn and Co hit the reset button and retry the site, but they are not on the roam nearly as heavy as they were in the previous round, so Quartz doesn't have to worry about getting picked through the floor.
But I don't know how I feel about this exactly. I mean, given how strong that Gaimin Gladiators execute was, and how strong their map clear was, are you really going to hope that you can now change the course of the round by not applying any off-site pressure, allowing Gaimin Gladiators to have full utility and full intel when they go for the execute? That's the question. I mean, look at this. They have 10 drones still up, 90 seconds in, and having taken 2 floors worth of map control. Almost always you're going to see some defender shooting out a couple of those drones, preventing just the attacking team from moving in that fast. But Gaimin Gladiators have made tremendous progress. Now they're going to be able to turn their attention towards the site. They've got a minute 15 to work with, which is ample time.
We just watched Arrow go full Picasso on that hatch. That took a lot longer than I think it should have, but they'll still get the job done. They'll still get it open, and they've got a minute left to play with. Now is where Jolton becomes important, not only to take out shields and what have you, but also open up that wall in E-Box, allow for easy rotation for the attack, make sure ADSs do not go unspotted so they can get nades down into tower and frag out that pillar player. We'll see if he ends up doing so. Unfortunately, Whitlock is actively watching it, so it'll be really tough to get those Rotero drones in. In the meantime, there's an early C4 from the Mute, but Capitao's utilities coming down. Smokes are out. Another C4 way too early. Jolton drops, but is claimed by Feltwinter. In fact, it's 2 for the Mute. Quartz with 1 refrag. Mikey low. Whitlock dead. It's a 2 versus 3. The man count on its head now in the favor of Gaimin Gladiators, excuse me. With Sykes on low HP, he'll heal himself back up with that Finka boost, Xeno playing the long angle is at a disadvantage should the LMG peek in, and because Mikey used his C4 early on the E-box hatch, he can't deny. Beautiful shot from Xeno, but a quick refrag from Quartz, and now Mikey on such low HP is stuck in a 1 versus 2 post-plant retake. They've both gotten out of the bomb site itself. There's one right outside of E-box. He'll blindside Quartz, but not land enough damage to kill, and that'll end up killing him instead. Gaimin Gladiators take 2 rounds in a row, and we'll go to max regulation to see if Karn and Co win or if we go to OT.
Well, Xeno hit a beautiful shot to kick off that retake, but then he bit off a little bit more than he could chew. Instead of maybe waiting for Mikey to swing together and provide that support, he tried to continue to advance up the gold hall, and he eventually ended up falling. And I mean, that right there, not much you can do. I mean, to be fair, had he tried to back off, the result may have been the same. It was tough for him to take either angle. Either gunfight would have been challenging for him. So you got to give it up to at least the good effort, but Mikey on so low HP, it was nearly impossible for him to do it all by himself, given that default plant spot, how powerful it is, how many angles the attackers can swing you from, the soft wall he had to worry about, didn't know which angle that Quartz was going to end up swinging him from, so he ended up falling just through the doorway. So that's the kind of thing that Gaimin Gladiators are going to have to just continue as much as they can, just setting it up, just getting beautiful executes. So far, that's 2 rounds in a row where they've really just unleashed on the bomb site with a flurry of kills, and Karn and Co just haven't been able to match that same kill potential, and they haven't been able to win a round in these last 2.
And you question that decision from Karn & Co to not roam and allow Gaimin Gladiators to set up for that execute. You know, like we say from Karn & Co, if you allow Gaimin Gladiators to set up, you know, maybe it's not as consistent and it's not as much of a tell as with Karn & Co, but they're still bound to do well. And with Karn & Co completely abandoning the idea to disrupt that initial attack like they had in the previous round, they certainly paid the price for it. And once again, they're not meeting this attack head on. They're playing all 5 upstairs, close to the chest, on this site. And while it did work for them in the previous attempt of dorms, you know, the same could be said about the previous attempt of laundry in round number 1, and yet Gaimin Gladiators still won both of the retries.
Bomb located by attackers.
Well, here on what could be the final, well, what will be the final regulation round, Gaimin Gladiators starting things off with a little bit of a burn. Actually, no, skipping the burn phase and going straight for the nades, Jolton will end up wasting both of his, sending them straight into 2 ADSs lying in wait. That Electro Claw on the wall still in play. Karn keeping another Electro Claw in pocket as well. So already within the first minute and 15 seconds, Gaimin Gladiators have not made the progress that they were looking for. They're going to have to find a way to clear off this Electro Claw and the Mute Jammer. Somebody is going to probably have to work their way in down below. And I don't think Karn & Co are going to let them do that all that easily. Of course, Quartz is somebody in position to work his way downstairs, but he is on the opposite side of that first floor and has a long way to go if they want to get that wall open. Right now, Gaimin Gladiators have made almost 0 progress. They found a kill, so that's something, but they've got to do a whole lot more than that.
They still have to get that Electro Claw off the wall. They will get the ADSs, so perhaps a nade could come in, but Feltwinter will smoke Jolton off the rappel. Mikey, who we saw coming in downstairs, dies to Quartz's flank watch, though, meaning that Gaimin Gladiators still have the man advantage, but Diffuser right now is stuck on top white. More gas canisters come out from Feltwinter. He's got 1 left. There's 45 seconds for the attack to play with. That's not going to be able to stall nearly enough time. Arrow through the floor lights up Carnage B more than I thought he would. Now the Cade has to be really careful, but he exposed himself to big window, but not enough shots are landed by Beastly. He'll allow the Cade to get away for now. He'll come in aggressively though, bearing 9 out. Fell the Cade. Karn & Co were not ready for it. Feltwinter trying to salvage the round, gets 1 back on Arrow, but Quartz has picked up that case and he's planting in. Sykes with no info walks right into Whitlock. It's even man count, but the cover survives. Beastly with 1 and 2. 3 kills for the Hibana as Gaimin Gladiators send us to overtime.
I hate to be, you know, straight up here with Karn & Co, but there's just no reason at all why they should lose that round. The breach never got opened. I mean, we're talking about a site that is so easy to defend if attackers have to just funnel in through doorways. And guess what Gaimin Gladiators did, Harrison? They just funneled through doorways.
And 1 window.
funnel through doorways and a window.
Forget that.
All what generally we as casters like to call fatal funnels, right? It's just these positions where
Bottlenecks.
right, bottlenecks. These positions where several attackers have to go through the same position, and all defenders should theoretically be trained on one of those positions. I have no idea how Karn and Co. managed to just let Gaimin Gladiators tear them apart like that. But at some point, you got to give credit to Gaimin Gladiators and the momentum and the confidence they've been able to build over the last 3 rounds. That's 3 rounds in a row. Karn and Co. don't have any momentum. Clearly no confidence that they can win any gunfights because Gaimin Gladiators are able to just force Karn and Co. to play their game. That's really what makes an attacking team successful, right? If you can force the defense to play your game, and Gaimin Gladiators had to get aggressive, Karn and Co. decided to swing right back, and they lost the round because of it. Some odd mistakes coming out from Karn and Co., who looked so good. I mean, they were poised to win this at 6-3, but they have fumbled this one in a big way, and now it's in overtime.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not exactly unexpected. Both these teams have almost even win percentages on each side of this map. So overtime was absolutely in the cards. We see double 3-3 halves. I can't say, I didn't think Karn & Co. was going to win after their first 3 on defense, but Gaimin Gladiators did an incredible job bringing it back. Now, Karn & Co. do start on the defense. We can't really be like, ooh, Karn & Co. in the advantage, because it's double 3-3 halves. There's really no side advantage here, at least not with this current map's history in this match in and of itself. But what we can say, Jonah, is in terms of site selection, is this really the play for Karn & Co.?
I don't think so.
They're 1-2 on it.
I don't think so.
Most
they have to
recently,
play this
they've
one.
lost.
Right. They have to change the way they play this up significantly. They cannot sit back and do nothing in terms of a roam or in terms of an extension. They cannot allow Gaimin Gladiators to have full utility and full information, all their drones up, when it comes to that execute. And, look at what Karn & Co. are doing right now. Nothing different. It's everybody sitting down below. I think you have one player over on the tower stairs who is sort of kind of playing aggressive. He shot out 1 drone. That's something. But likely, once he gets pressured, Whitlock is going to have to fall back. Quartz and Sykes now in that position, so there goes Whitlock. He's going to tuck tail and run. Gaimin Gladiators, they have, once again, everything they need to succeed here, and Karn & Co. appear to be willing to just let it happen.
Very worried because there's a big criticism from Karn & Co. Not only do they get tripped up by a lot of those new meta play styles, but they tend to do a lot of the same thing, especially on their defenses. And if Gaimin Gladiators has torn this very same defense apart twice already, I really worry for this first overtime round. However, while they haven't really changed playstyle, they have changed one very important operator, Jonah, and that's the Warden. With Beastly playing that Capitao, and like you said, playing it to a T and having very well-placed smokes, Mikey could potentially deny all of that if Gaimin Gladiators are relying on those a bit too much. Mikey is taking a risky fight here against Quartz. The Sledge has now tucked his way in the corner. Mikey spots him, but can't get either kill. Poor target acquisition from the Warden will lead to his death. There's 1 trade from the defense, but 3 kills total for the attack now. And for the 3rd time in a row, Gaimin Gladiators tear the laundry site play completely apart. That leaves Whitlock in a 1 versus 4, once again, a completely unenviable position, and he's probably about to drop the first round of overtime. There it is. Sykes will dome him and give a 7-6 lead to the Gladiators.
Peculiar that Karn & Co. took a timeout before that round, and the master plan that they used 60 seconds to discuss was do the same thing for a 3rd time in a row.
But now with Warden.
But now with Warden, right? Oh boy.
Yeah.
Thank God you've got the MPX.
Didn't do anything.
Now you can fight back. I mean, seriously, I have no idea what their plan was. I have no idea why they expected that round to be any different than the last. Maybe there's something that they feel like is going wrong. Maybe they feel like, oh, you know what, when it comes down to this execute, we can play better. We can have better trades. We can have better coordination. That's why we lost the 2 rounds. Hate to break it to you, Karn & Co. The reason you lost the last 3 rounds on this objective is because Gaimin Gladiators are just better than you on it. It's time to switch. It's time to either change up your playstyle dramatically or just forget the basement site for good and move on. They didn't do that. So instead of putting the game away with the 3 chances they had when they had that 6-3 scoreline, then the 6-4 scoreline, now they are facing match point. Gaimin Gladiators are poised to win it, and they go into the basement, a site that they clearly understand pretty well if they want to win this one.
Yep, not only are Karn & Co. now 1-3 on their laundry defenses, if you look at their attacking half, none of the 3 rounds that Karn & Co. won were attacking laundry. Gaimin Gladiators won both attempts, so clearly they understand that, like you said, they can play this site. They have not lost it in this match thus yet. Drone comes in, it'll spot Arrow, and the Jaeger will wisely fall back. There's someone following very close behind. That's Feltwinter. Both the players will evade some shots for now. But now the Jaeger holds across with Quartz. Of course, whom the drone will also spot out. But Quartz does not fall back. We'll make his way through the security rotate, post up in kitchen. More drones come out from Feltwinter. And Jonah, we talk about Karn & Co.'s drone game and how if they lose too many drones early, they are found floundering for info on site. Well, they've already lost 3. Make that 4.
Yep, another drone taken out. Quartz working his way around and now escaping the increasing pressure from Karn & Co. I mean, look at how Gaimin Gladiators are defending this. They are not giving up any amount of control for free. And compare the drone count in this round to the 3 defenses that Karn & Co. tried to put on this site. There are 5 drones left with 1:45 instead of 10 drones left with 1:45. This is how you defend the basement. You don't overextend. You don't have to hunt for kills. Just hunt for drones. Hold a position until drones come to your feet, shoot out those drones, and then get the heck out of there. That's what Quartz just did, and he did it so well. Another drone now removed. The intel for Karn & Co., a serious problem. The map control, they finally have it, but are they going to approach from the side they've worked so hard to secure? Are they going to approach from pillar, or instead, is this going to be a direct take in freezer and laundry? Well, it looks like the latter. You've got all 5 attackers bunched up and ready to go from this south side, and, well, the defense, they're ready for it.
Now it's 2 drones left, both in the pocket of Mikey, who's going to be stuck on flank watch. Utility will come in from Karn & Co., flashes towards Quartz's shield, and Feltwinter's pushed all the way down, but is clapped by Sykes. No headway for Karn & Co. thus yet in this round, as their Ashe, their main spearhead, dies without a trade. Nade goes in from Xeno, but it only claims a smidge of damage on Jolton. Luckily, Quartz's shield has been fragged out, but still, 30 seconds remaining. Gas canisters burning away the laundry player's time. In comes the Finka of Xeno. He's got an LMG to pre-fire with, will drop shot Sykes, but Whitlock will get traded out behind him. He sees 2 bodies. He's got to worry about the closet player, and again, Orange lights up the scoreboard. Xeno can do nothing, and the Gladiators play their sights a lot smarter than Karn & Co. do. They take the match 8-6.
Honestly, this is exactly how it should have ended. Karn & Co. showed us nothing in the last 5 rounds to suggest that they deserve to win this game. They did not play very smart. They failed to adapt when the situation called for it, and Gaimin Gladiators, when they were down 6-3, staring down match point, they were the ones to adapt. They had that tech timeout, and they used it to perfection. They made sure to talk things over and figure out what they needed to do as they went into that latter half of their own attacks and how to put something together, and they did. They were able to chain together 3, 4, 5 rounds, making Karn & Co. look silly while doing it, a win they deserved 8-6 in OT.
Absolutely. Karn & Co., after their little streak on defense, I really thought they were going to put it away. I mean, a 3-round lead, it's not very often that we see something like that thrown away, and yet Karn & Co. said, you know, they were going to give us a treat today. They were going to be the unorthodox team and decide to go to overtime and then not win a single round. Again, that first overtime round, why play laundry? I mean, even the dorms, the round that they had just lost, was so much closer than any of the latter 2 laundry defenses they had, and they decided that they just wanted to keep banging their head against the wall. So, Jonah, a disappointing show from Karn & Co. once again. How many times have we said that this stage? And I'm sure when we go back to the analyst desk in just a few moments, they're going to be echoing my sentiment.
My, oh my, oh my, what a treat of a match. I think we got, Connor, just about everything we could in this match, but I want to throw it back to kind of some of the points that we were talking about before we got into this. Number one, I want to talk about your thoughts on Intel. That was a big point. These were two teams that we said did not do a lot with Intel throughout their stage. How did you feel about their Intel games?
I feel like Karn and Co did the exact same thing, but it was working. And I was ready to cook the Gaimin Gladiators, but now I'm gonna cook Karn and Co because they just didn't adapt. And Gaimin Gladiators, even though we've seen a lot of their takes be just super simple, direct takes, no variation, super vanilla, nothing, nobody hitting it from the back, nothing fun. All of a sudden, they were throwing a little bit of misdirection. And Karn and Co, guess what? They didn't have Intel. And guess what? They weren't able to adapt because of it and kept on doing the same thing Harrison said, banging their head against the wall. Perfect. That was the perfect way to describe it because watching that game, if they're for Karn and Co watching it back, they might get a little bit of brain damage.
Now, piggybacking off of Intel, piggybacking off of what we were talking about before the match, Tanner, the Rome game, how did you feel about it for both of these teams? Because it looked like that was a large part in maybe why Gaimin Gladiators lost it or things got out of hand for them a little early, but then in the same token, use that to their advantage, you know, to come back and force this victory.
Yeah, I really do feel like one of the Karn's weaknesses as a team is the fact that they're have a really difficult time if they're not able to get to the execute. We talked in the pre-show there that I was expecting Gaimin Gladiators to attack drones and to not let them get set up or like fight for this map control. And we only really saw that coming out from them in the final round on defense, where they had spawn peaks, they were contesting early, they're putting in a lot of pressure on to make sure that Karn's team didn't get to do the execute they wanted to do, and that was a big thing. And then on the flip side, when Gaimin Gladiators was attacking, I felt like Karn and Co was doing a really good job on the run, especially in the first half, specifically because Gaimin Gladiators is doing what I like to call the Bex Dog special. It's a term that we've coined over on Ape, and that is 5-man front. We're going to push one direction. There's not going to be any counter pressure, and we're just going to out trade you. So you find out where the front is. All 5 guys are going to be there, and it was working really well early on for Karn and Co, but then it just seemed to get taken away from them, especially once Court started picking up his frags in the latter half of the attack half. He just started showing up in a massive way. He was getting 1-2 picks almost every single round. Previously on attack, he wasn't doing that, and I think that's where Gaming was actually really able to kind of turn this game around.
Well, I've got some important questions as well, but not for either of you two, but they're going to be for Arrow. I want to find out because, man, this was a lengthy battle. Arrow, congratulations on the win. This secures you guys a few more points, but it was looking a little shaky there when you guys were down 6-3.
No, yeah, it was like a little rough, but in the call, it was just like focus on the next round, like score 0-0. Like we just got to get our rounds to stay in it. So that's what we did.
Well, Quartz had a big comeback himself. His stats weren't that great earlier on, but he really pushed back, and Beastly as well. The two of them really led the forefront of your team. What was it about their games that were able to secure you this victory?
Definitely the big round, like on the kid's attack from Bex with the Baron, like Bex Dog just in the side doing what he wants. So like securing that, and then Quartz like on the entry game, like just setting the tempo. Like it was good for us, I think, especially against this team.
Now, one of the questions, since this is the final play day, I'll be asking this of all the teams today when we do these. What's the report card? What's the grade that you would give your team over this stage? And what are some things that you want to see moving forward from your team?
I'd probably give us like a C, like C minus, something like that. Like it was definitely a disappointing season to like every player and Fox and like the org. Like it was just not what we expected at all. But I think that comes with like 5 different players like teaming for the first time together. Other than Bex and Jolton, but that was just for one stage. And it's just like a lot of clash of like how we want to play certain maps and like even what maps we want to play. So I think like next stage is going to be more solidified on like how we want to lead each map and like what those maps will be. So
Well, thank you for this match today. High expectations for you guys from us as well. Good luck next stage.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good one. Yeah, I mean, I like the blunt answer, C minus. You're definitely not seeing yourselves in top 4, let alone even top half position, but I think this team made a lot of steady progress. Connor, your thoughts on the report card?
I think it was pretty fair. I think it was pretty fair. They did well against the higher end teams and struggled against the lower end ones because they didn't quite have the solidification over towards, their map pool and stuff like that, where they could really bully some of those lower teams. And overall, I mean, I think the future is still bright for the Gaimin Gladiators. We've seen those flashes of brilliance. And like Arrow said, this is a team of 5 players that haven't really played together a whole lot. Getting roles down, getting just sort of clashing ideas is always going to be an issue. So first stage growing pains isn't really too much to worry about.
Okay, now we are going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, it's going to be the first of 2 back-to-back matches for Outlast as they try to dig their way out of the relegation hole. We'll see everyone then.